Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the official Nerd Talk channel. My name is Tyler, aka Runner, joined by my co-host AJ Reacts to and Mr. Stu, aka Stu Media. We are back for another episode of Original versus Remakes, bringing you guys an episode on The Mummy in collaboration with the new Mummy movie releasing very soon, Lee Cronin's The Mummy from Blumhouse and James Wan. Um, Funny story. This is one we were supposed to do last year, but because of the original, I decided to just not do it. And then we were like, oh, well, the new one's coming out, so let's do it anyway. So without further ado, let's get into this episode, starting with the original, The Mummy. So the original Mummy was released in 1932, and it was directed by Carl Freund. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong, and tells the story of a resurrected Egyptian mummy searching Cairo for the girl he believes to be his long lost princess. So, like I said, the first time I watched this movie was last year. I watched it with AJ in an attempt to do this video. And I'm going to keep this short and sweet. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I don't like this movie. I didn't like this movie the first time, and I don't like this movie now. The Universal Monster movies, I'm ready to say they're just not for me. Say for one, um, I don't like these movies. I don't. I understand they were made in a time where the bare minimum was considered peak cinema. These movies are not for me. They're not. I think the idea for the mummy is fine. I think Boris Karloff is the best part as the mummy. He is an icon. He was obviously Frankenstein's monster. Other than that, I'm not even gonna waste y'all time. I don't like this movie. I don't like it. I find it miserably boring. I find nothing of note to happen in it. The creepiest thing in the movie is a close up of the mummy's eyes, and they reuse it like 6 times. And by the 6th time, I'm like, okay, you've told me that nothing else in this movie is scary besides this. So, okay. I don't like this movie. I don't. I'm not gonna sit here and try to fabricate, the goods and the bad. I don't like it. I don't like it. I find it boring to sit through, and it's one I will absolutely never go back to. I barely wanted to go back to it for this video, but I don't like this. What are your guys' thoughts on the original Mummy?
I can see your perspective on it. It does. It's sluggish. I will admit to that. But I personally like this movie. I like the premise a lot. The execution. It has its goods and bads about it, but I I really like the premise, and about the 45-minute mark around there, the movie really starts to become intriguing. I love the idea of the mummy coming back thinking that this woman is his princess, and him like pursuing her, and then them trying to, the guys that are surrounding her trying to uh like capture the mummy, and it's kind of exciting to me. So I do like this movie. I wish it was better executed in the first half of it. Plus, it's not too long, so I don't know. I dig the movie. It's not Invisible Man, like that's my favorite Universal monster movie, but yeah, it's cool. I really like the lighting. That's another highlight for this movie. I really enjoy the lighting, especially when it comes to the mummy himself, Imhotep. I think it's very well lit, and it kind of gives that creepy, eerie vibe. Tyler mentioned the shot of the close up of the mummy, haunting. I completely haunting. I love that. But yeah, overall, it's a decent movie. It's not much to it. It's kind of simple, straightforward, to the point. And it does have like a little bit of a sluggish, feel to it at the beginning. But yeah, it's cool.
I totally see where Tyler's coming from. This is definitely a slow movie. I'd seen it once before, and I've always liked this movie, but it's less like and more of a respect for it because I love the way it's shot. I love the way it looks. I love Boris Karloff in this movie. Specifically when he like first awakens, that scene was really well executed. I have a respect for it because they wanted to tell, I could see what they were going for. They wanted to tell like a real story, like a it's more of a drama than it is a horror movie. I
Kind of a
get that.
romance too.
Yeah, it's kind of a romance as well, and I get that, and I respect them for wanting to tell that kind of story. That being said, it's not engaging. Like it's an interesting premise and it's an interesting idea, but the way they execute it is not engaging. I like a slow burn, but it's too slow. So I totally get why Tyler doesn't like it, but I do largely feel the same way that AJ feels.
Moving on to the remake titled once again The Mummy, released in 1999, directed by Steven Sommers, starring Brendan Fraser, Rachel Weisz, Arnold Vosloo, sorry if I pronounced that, John Hannah, and Kevin J. O'Connor. Tells the story basically pretty much of the same thing, but a little bit differently. There is a mummy still pursuing his assumed to be princess, but it happens after these archaeologists open the Book of the Dead, another franchise where people open a book titled The Book of the Dead and think nothing of it. And the mummy causes mayhem. So this is one I always knew of in my life. I always knew of it existing, but I don't think I fully sat down and watched it until I think 2022. And um I really, really like this version of the Mummy, and this might get me in hot water, but watching this movie honestly proves to me that unless we're proven wrong with Lee Cronin's The Mummy, there's no excuse for why they didn't do action and in this direction first. Because to me, you take the story of the original one that is semi engaging, semi not, and then you go and remake it, but you slap an action adventure genre on it. Immediately, it's already more engaging. There's already more things happening, and to me, it's just the more type of movie that I want. This is very much the blueprint for Pirates of the Caribbean. You can tell clear as day, especially when you pay attention to it. You know, you swap out some of the characters for some of the characters in Pirates of the Caribbean. Like literally, Rick O'Connell is Jack Sparrow, just not as much of an idiot. um, I really enjoy this movie. I do. The only issue that I may or may not have is CGI is dated, but this is one of those movies where the dated CGI kind of adds to the charm of it. I don't really care, to be honest. It doesn't really bother me. I've seen worse CGI. It's not Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Me and AJ just watched Spawn the other night. It's not as bad as Spawn. I don't know. I think the cast is great across the board. Brendan Fraser plays one of my favorite movie characters ever. I love this man. I love this character. And it's just fun from start to end. I do think the first half is a little bit stronger than the second half, and I do think it's a little bit too long, but I really like this movie. It's such a fun time, and every time I watch it, it just makes me want to go out and watch every action adventure movie known to man because it ignites that adventure spark that I have. You know, um, yeah, I really like this remake a lot.
I'm kind of in the same boat as far as knowing about this movie like forever and just not seeing it until semi recently. I think maybe we watched it together. I can't remember if we watched it together for the first time, but it was only a couple years ago where I saw it for the first time. And yeah, man, this movie is a lot of fun. It's very action heavy, very adventure heavy. Has very engaging characters that are quick witted, funny, snappy. Brendan Fraser is charming as ever in this movie. and Rachel Wise is their chemistry is it's amazing. I do feel like this is kind of, for me anyway, I do feel like this movie is kind of a popcorn flick, and I kind of hate using that term because like I don't really like writing off movies, but this movie to me is not like really to be taken that seriously. It's just supposed to be put on just for fun. You can put it on in the background while you're doing stuff. It's it's fun. It's a fun movie. It's not much depth to it, not much layers to it, like but it doesn't need that. Yeah, the cast all around is great. It's shot very well. It just it oozes that 90s aesthetic of action films and action and adventure films. So yeah, fun movie. And I like it a lot.
This is one of my favorite movies of all time. I love this movie with all of my heart. This is my favorite Brandon Fraser role. I was actually surprised to hear Tyler say that it was that it reminded him of Pirates of the Caribbean. For me, it feels like a love letter to Raiders of the Lost Ark. Um, it is
See that too.
definitely it's Raiders of the Lost Ark as a horror movie, and I love it. I agree with what you said, AJ. It's not to be taken seriously, it's to have fun, and a fun movie is exactly what it is. I appreciate everything about this movie. The only knock that I have about the movie is that it's just a tad too long, but it like maybe 10 minutes, maybe. But everything else I absolutely love about this movie. The aesthetic, the way it's shot, even to me, the CGI has only recently started to look dated because we've gotten we've gotten things like Godzilla versus Kong and Infinity War, like Thanos. The Mummy himself to me still looks fantastic. Um the scarabs are definitely dated, but it doesn't bother me. But like I think they put all of their love and skill into getting Emotep right. And I greatly appreciate that. Steven Summers is to me an underappreciated director. While none of his movies are particularly like high art, you are pretty much guaranteed you're going to watch a fun movie when you watch a Steven Summers movie. Brandon Fraser, this movie solidified him as an action star. I think after that he did like 3 or 4 more action movies. He and Rachel Weisz have thick chemistry, like you cut it with a butter knife, it's so thick. John Hannah is great in the movie. He's very funny. He provides some levity to the movie. I mean, the movie is light anyway, but he provides like a little extra oomph of it. This movie is like really really fun and high octane, but it doesn't feel like a Saturday morning cartoon, which I greatly appreciate. That's very hard to do, to find that balance when you have such an adrenaline driven movie, to kind of bring it down and okay, like we're gonna get that creep factor in here, and we're gonna genuinely try to scare you. And I think they really pull it off. But this movie is again one of my favorite movies. It got so many one-liners, so many scenes that I love. It's got the single greatest chair throw I've ever seen in a movie.
The chair throw. Oh,
The
you
accuracy
doing
of
some
that
spring cleaning?
the accuracy of that chair hitting Benny's back, every time, bro. But yeah, I love this movie. I adore this movie. I love it so much.
Moving on to the similarities between the two, and there's really only two things that are similar between them. One is that the mummy itself has the same name of Himotep, and the core storyline of the mummy being awoken to find its assumed to be princess. Like that's those two plot lines are a thing in both of these movies, which I didn't even remember that. So I was like, oh, so they did use the foundation of the original to do the remake. So there is that. I thought the remake had absolutely nothing to do with it, but it does. Um, Beyond that, they're very different.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and for the better. Differences. The original tries to be a horror movie, and the remake is full blown action. You know, there is some horror in there, mainly
The
with
remake
the
is like almost every genre. It has
yeah,
a little
it's
bit of everything.
Mhm.
but it does have some horror in there, mainly when people are getting torn apart by bugs and stuff, which is gross.
Yeah.
um,
Imhotep, not in full form too, looks terrifying.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The I guess something else that's different too is that in the original you have Imhotep walking around disguising himself as a human.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and then in the remake he's just mummy. He's just the mummy going around trying to get himself back to full form.
Mhm.
Um, the characters are different from both films. And I feel like the mummies themselves are different because, you know, obviously you can blame it on the times, but in the original he doesn't really do anything. He just kind of walks around, spits out some spells or curses or some, you know. And then the remake, he's over here sucking people's souls out to, you know, build his form back. You know, it's pretty cool. Um, like I said, the genres are fully different. The original is going for full blown horror, or trying to. The remake is primarily action adventure, and you know it gives it that distinct feel to it. Do you guys have any other differences or whatever?
Nah, I mean you pretty much nailed all the differences. But
Yeah.
you know all those differences make it significantly better. I love the choices that they made. Personally I think that's the way you should do remakes. Like you know, it should be obviously based on the same thing, but you should make bold enough choices to where you know it feels like a different type of thing and not a carbon copy. I think one thing with remakes a lot of times is that they try to play it safe and do it, you know, as close to the original as possible. And I kind of think that that defeats the purpose. I think that's the problem with the Lion King. Although I like the Lion King remake, I don't hate it like a lot of other people, but I do recognize that that's a flaw. Like they tried to play it safe and not piss people off, and like what's the point? I love that this movie takes a risk and does a lot of things boldly different.
The
Yeah,
thing about that, my answer to that, I agree with a lot of what you're saying, but I will say, if you want to remake a movie in the same vein as the original, make sure the original is not good. Like, make sure the original is not something that is beloved. If if it's a movie, if it's the original is a movie that, you know, people are like, we don't really like this. If you want to remake it in the same vein, I think that's fine. But if it's something that is beloved, like the Lion King, like a lot of these other movies that they just do shot for shot, and you know, why are you remaking that? We love this original. Like, but yeah, that's my answer to that.
yeah, and I think it's interesting that even when they tried remaking this again in 2017, they stood to the action genre. They didn't go back to horror, which I personally think it was a mistake to do that. I don't give a shit if Tom Cruise is in your movie. If you don't, Tom Cruise doesn't want to make a horror version of the Mummy, don't cast Tom Cruise in a Mummy remake. You don't need Tom Cruise in a Mummy remake because clearly him being in the movie did not matter at all. But hopefully, like I said, we're getting Lee Cronin's horror version of the Mummy soon. Hopefully they prove that hey, you can do this in horror version, not a horror version of this again, not just action.
Yeah, there's
Um,
also a 1959 version of the Mummy. I don't think any of us checked it out yet, but it stars Christopher Lee. I'm not sure if that one is horror or what they try to do with that one, but that'd be interesting to know.
Yeah, To go back to what you said about like beloved movies, I don't think that should be a prerequisite. Just make the movie good. I understand that if you choose a beloved movie to remake, you already have the fan base going against you. I get that, but the whole point of remakes is a reinterpretation, and I don't think that it being good or bad should be a prerequisite. I do think that there are more bad movies that deserve remakes than there are good movies, but I don't think that just because you're remaking a good movie that it is inherently some kind of filmmaking sin. You just you like the story and you have a certain vision for it and you want to express that vision, and I'm totally okay with that. For example, the Jungle Book, I like every single version of the Jungle Book, and there's like a million. I don't say every single version because I don't think I've seen every single version, but I know I've seen at least four versions of it, and I like all four of them. Um, the people love the original. I know people love the '90s version. At least millennials, at least people my age like the that '90s live action version. I like the remake that John Favreau did, and I like the Andy Serkis one on Netflix. Um, they're all good and they're all different. Um, I know a lot of people, love the 21 Jump Street original show, and they also love the movie, and they're totally different. So I don't think it being bad or it being good automatically means no, you shouldn't make a remake of it. It's either the opposite. Either they don't respect the source material enough to keep the essence of certain things, or they're on the opposite end of the spectrum of they care so much that they're afraid to make choices that are going to piss people off. I would rather you make some choices that piss people off than to just make the same thing. So I think it depends on the movie, it depends on the filmmaker, and most importantly, it depends on the intent. Are you remaking it for the sake of remaking it, or do you really have a unique vision that you want people to see?
Mhm. A vision and a passion for what you're creating. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, I get that. I feel that.
All right. Moving on to what the definitive version is. At least for me and John, I'll speak for me and John. Obviously, the definitive version is the 1999 version. Like I said, I absolutely love this movie. It is silly, wacky, over the top, but it's a lot of fun, and it doesn't bore me to death for 80% of its runtime. Um, yeah, it's the one I prefer the most. I would be interested in watching the 50s one because it's another, I assume, horror version. I assume it's not, adventure. Um, and I hope that, like I said, Lee Cronin's knocks it out of the park with the horror tone.
Mhm. For me, I would say yeah, it's definitely the '99 version. Um, but I do have a deep appreciation for the original, and there are things that I definitely like about it. So.
Yeah, I'm the same. The '90s version is my definitive version, but I appreciate 1932.
Mm.
All right. That is going to do it for this episode of Originals versus Remakes. If you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like on the video, subscribe to this channel, turn on the bell for all notifications for future Nerd Talk videos and live streams. We will see you on the next episode of Originals versus Remakes, everybody.